Hello, everyone. Welcome back to OpenLine. We are talking with elder law attorney Chris Johnson. He's joining us from Hendersonville, his office there at Takacs, McGinnis. And elder law, if you have a loved one who is aging, lots of questions that are worthwhile asking here. And as all of us get older, certainly questions to ask. I want to ask you, Chris, about trusts. We've heard a little bit about powers of attorney and wills and all that. What are trusts? What do we need to know about them?
Yeah, trusts are an integral part of any good estate plan. The basic trust that I think most people are familiar with, they hear living trust or revocable trust, revocable living trust. And what that is, in essence, is it's a recognized legal entity, kind of like an LLC or something else. And so why that's important is when you pass away, what generally happens is you own a bunch of stuff and that stuff doesn't have an owner after you pass away. And so if I have a $100,000, account at the bank and I pass away and you just roll into the bank and say, hey, I know Chris, I had him on the show a lot. He wants me to have this account, now that he's passed away. Well, that's no way to sort things out. So we have this very formal, what's called the probate process. And probate comes from the Latin term probatum, which means to prove the thing, because that's the very first thing you're doing in the probate process is you're proving the validity of the will. You're proving that this is the actual will and it's legally executed and meets all the statutory requirements. Once that part's done, then everything else is administration, but it's cumbersome. You have to appear before the judge. You're going to have to pay court costs. You're going to have to pay attorney's fees. There's a 4-month creditor period. So if it takes you a month and a half just to get on the docket, then you have 4 months to wait for the creditors to come out of the woodwork, and you have to put out public notice. And then after those 4 months, then you have to, if there are any creditors to fight, you have to fight those. And so the process can drag on over a year. And the worst part, and the part that I emphasize to most clients, is that it's public. It's a public record. And so when you file a petition to open probate, you're listing the names and addresses. These are statutory requirements of all the heirs at law and heirs listed in the will. So heirs at law are if they didn't have a will and passed what's called intestate, you have to list those heirs, and then you have to list the heirs in the will. Oftentimes they're the same, but sometimes they're different. And that's important because if the will was found invalid, the heirs at law still need to know this is going on. And you have to list an estimated value of the estate. Now, there's two things that are concerning about that. The first is, these are potential lottery winners. There's one way to look at it is here are a bunch of people who might not have been expecting, and now they're going to receive a big lump sum of money, and we have at least some ballpark figure. And if that's a public record, that doesn't always bring out the best in our society. We see all these scams out there. There used to be the Nigerian prince, then there was the Italian boyfriend, and now there's the grandchild. I don't know if people are familiar with the grandchild scam, where people they go on Facebook, they figure out the names of everyone, then they call elderly people pretending to be the grandchild, and they say, I'm in jail and I need bail money to get out. Don't tell mom and dad I'm in jail. Here's the account you can wire the money to. We had this happen in Hendersonville. They actually caught the person because they were dumb enough to go pick up the money in cash in person, and thankfully HPD nabbed them, Hendersonville's finest. But these are
I know
scary
people
things
that have been caught up in that, and I did not know that it's Facebook. I didn't know that's how they're doing it. So of course they figure out who it is. Oh my goodness. Well, that's
we put
so
it all out
depressing.
there, and so it is, and it's a terrible thing. And so if you can avoid that, and it's frankly nobody's business how much money you had when you passed away. And so if you can go another route, and that's the revocable trust route, what you do is you set up a revocable trust. You deed your home into the revocable trust because this is a legal entity. It can own and hold property. And then you can beneficiary designate your accounts or retitle your accounts so that either immediately or at your passing, they go into the trust. And because it's a revocable living trust, everything in that trust is yours during your lifetime. So I have a revocable living trust with my wife. So we deed the home in there. We have our bank accounts beneficiary designated in there. Anything in that trust we can use for ourselves anytime. But once we both pass away, the trust lives on. and it becomes irrevocable because the two people who put it together are no longer alive to amend it or revoke it. And now what happens is a new trustee steps in because we're trustees of our own trust during our lifetime. And so I have a good friend of mine who serves as a successor trustee, and their job is to administer my estate. But they don't have to do any of that public notice. They don't have to go before court. They don't have to pay attorney's fees or court costs. All they do is get my accounts. They still pay my lawful creditors. A revocable living trust does not get you out of paying your debts. I think that's a misconception that's out there. And then they make distributions as they see fit. And because I have 3 minor children, not only can they cannot lawfully own property right now, but I also don't want them getting a lump sum at 18, because I think if most of us remember ourselves at 18, a big lump sum of money was probably not the best thing for us at that time. The trust allows you to manage how that money is distributed. So you can do things like a 25% share at age 25, or if you get a college degree, and that incentivizes them to get education if that's something that's important.
Wow, that's
a 25% share at age 30, and then the remainder at 35. I had someone say my kids aren't getting it until they're 45, and I laughed because I think that's a little longer age. But again, that's what I think. That doesn't make it right. My client has the reasons for doing what they want to do, and they wanted a distribution age of 45. They get a distribution age of 45. And that's what revocable trust planning does, is allows you to sidestep that probate. It allows you to put a lot of protections in for your heirs to make sure that the money doesn't harm them, because money is a double-edged sword. It can do a lot of good, but it can also cause a lot of harm if you're not prepared for it.
Let's go to the phones here. Several calls. Let's go to Anna. Hello, Anna?
Yes.
Go right ahead, Anna.
I'm trying to find elder care law or someone who can build trust, will, and estate planning.
Someone who can build a trust, will, and estate
someone
planning.
Who can help me, yes. And
well, you're on the right place. You've called the right place.
Will needs to be redo because I no longer have power of attorney, etc. And I tried once. There was someone recommended by investment company. Then what happened was the lady just threw everything, and she looked at the money I had. She latched onto that one. And I just was not happy how she did. She was trying to control what little money I had, where to go. And so
all right, so
I never went.
Well, that's all right. You want to maybe redo this? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I would like to find someone who can help me with those around White Bridge Road.
Around White Bridge Road. Okay. All right. Give Anna some advice, please, Chris.
Yeah. So, Anna, you bring up 2 excellent issues that are pretty common. The first one is looking at your estate plan every couple of years. You mentioned that, hey, I had an estate plan and some things have changed and I needed to update things. People forget that all the time. And so first off, Anna, kudos to you for being on top of it. I always describe an estate plan, it's kind of like your car. It's great when it's brand new and we drive it off the showroom floor, but after a couple of years, we want to take a look at it. I'm in the process of updating mine right now. As we mentioned, I have a 1-month-old at home. I want to make sure she's incorporated and everything, and just get her name on the documents and get everything updated. So you always want to be looking at your plan. I always tell my clients, touch your plan at least once a year. Just review it, review the key players, make sure it's still doing what you want it to be doing, and that it hasn't gone stale. And then the second thing you brought up, Anna, which I think is even more important, especially when we just finished talking about scams, and that is control. you had someone, and this gives me great pause. It sounds like you had someone, from what you were describing, that was maybe trying to get your plan to do something that you didn't want it to do. And you heard me earlier on the show say, at the end of the day, your client is the boss in your office, and you may give them a great piece of advice, and they may not want to take it, and that's okay. Anna, you're in control of your estate plan, and so if there's something in it that does something that you don't want it to do, you absolutely should meet with another professional and have it reviewed and get those documents updated so it is doing exactly what you want it to be doing. There are plenty, obviously, you know, the first one I would mention is our firm. You can give our firm a call. They leave our number here at the end of the show, and an intake specialist be very happy to chat with you and get a little more understanding. Obviously, we're in a public forum right now, and so I don't want to dig into those details for everyone out in the listening audience. But you go over those things, and the important part is your estate plan should be accomplishing your goals, not someone else's goals.
And if Anna, if someone called and they weren't close enough to you, you could recommend someone that you all trust that's close to them. And so maybe Anna will do that. Anna, we'll put the number up, and you can make a decision about what to do at the end of the show. All right, we have to take a break. Sue Ellen, we'll take your call when we come back. We'll be back right after this.